Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel. My channel. I watched recently with my daughter, and I mean yesterday, The Mandalorian and Grogu. So I have a question for you. You can put it in the comments. What is your favorite Star Wars character of all time? And I have to say, the answer to that question for me is The Mandalorian. I think that The Mandalorian is the most interesting character Star Wars has created because generally most of the Star Wars movies are connected to the Skywalker franchise, right? Or family. And there are some things that are not connected to them in shows and stuff. But I, as I said, I just think that he's such an interesting character. He has these like very strong beliefs that guide him. He's sort of the epitome of speak softly and carry a big stick, or speak softly and carry a phenomenal array of ways to murder people with. So he has like an interesting culture and he's dealing with a lot of loss and trauma. And the fact that he was given this, I was about to say person, but I don't think Grogu counts as a person, but creature. Uh, can aliens be people? I don't know. Yeah, so he was given Grogu to take care of, and that's also an interesting aspect of his character. So I liked the movie, and I have to say that I liked it a lot more than people around me did. My daughter didn't really like it, she found it a bit too long. My son, who actually really liked the Mandalorian series, he also didn't like the movie. He thought it had a problem with pacing. And my ex also didn't like it. But I can see, like, I don't think it's the best movie ever, and I certainly don't want to say that it's the best Star Wars movie, but it's certainly not the worst. And so I can tell you some things that are good about it and some things that could be a bit better. So the good thing about it is it starts with this crazy amount of action, and that's really, really good. Like, Pedro Pascal is able to give the appearance of somebody who is this trained assassin, you know? So I believe that he can do those things. And I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes choreographed fights, they don't feel very realistic. And I think, especially in the beginning of the movie, the fights that he engages in feel really realistic. Up until the point where there's this fight in a sort of gladiator arena, and then it kind of doesn't get that realistic. And there's another fight where he is fighting like a swamp creature and big giant dragon kind of thing. And the whole point of that episode is that it shows that Grogu also cares about him and is able to like make sacrifices and protect him, and that's really, really good. But it kind of pads the runtime of the movie. And then there are like there's a big fight at the end, because one of the good things is, good and bad things, is that the Mandalorian's movie is not really about him. Like, he's the main character and Grogu is the main character, but it's actually about the son of Jabba the Hutt and his story about how he is trying to live with the legacy of his father and be his own man, and how his family doesn't want to accept that or wants to kill him because he's the legitimate heir to Jabba the Hutt's crime empire. So then they have a huge fight at the end, and then there's three Hutts fighting. And in the beginning, the Hutt fight, because Jabba's son, Ruta the Hutt, he becomes like a gladiator in this sort of ring, and he's sort of treated in a way that Roman gladiators would be treated, and he's expecting to get his freedom. But when he's fighting, the CGI looks really, really good in the beginning, and he looks really terrifying and really, like, oh, like a monster kind of thing. And then there's scenes where he's talking to Grogu and the Mandalorian, and you see that he's like a remarkably intelligent, articulate guy. And he's speaking in a language that isn't his own, by the way, which is pretty interesting. So I think that aspect of the Hutt culture is really interesting to explore in this movie. And so the Mandalorian's kind of struggle in his life, or his like goals, his desires, aren't really that important. So on the one hand, that could be like a negative in a movie called The Mandalorian Grogu. But on the other hand, it kind of makes it entertaining because he has a mission, right? So he's a bounty hunter, he has a mission, and then he needs to accomplish it. So, and the good thing is the special effects, the little creatures are really, really cool. And I was talking with my daughter about this because she was like, yeah, Grogu doesn't look very realistic. And yes, I heard a story about when they created the character design for Grogu. I think, what was his name? Werner Herzog was playing a character in the first season of Mandalorian. And they were explaining, like, this is like a puppet, it's a stand-in, we're going to replace it with CGI because it looks horrible. He's like, imagine a Werner Herzog accent. I can't do it, but he's like, you must not do that. This will make your movie, your series very successful. And it's true. The reason The Mandalorian was so successful is because of Grogu, right? And I think that was what the Mandalorian series was, what showed Disney that these Star Wars series could be profitable for good and bad. Yeah, but it does look unrealistic, but then you have, as I said, Rutta the Hutt. He's CGI. He's 100% CGI, and you can kind of compare and contrast, and they both look unreal, right? But in different ways. So you can say a Grogu is a puppet, but it's kind of like how Muppets are puppets, Like, that Kermit is a puppet, but if you're sitting there and Kermit is like talking to you, you're like, oh, I mean, I would die I would be so happy if I could speak to Kermit. But anyway, if you were in the room with Kermit, you would feel that he was a real character. And I think that's why Grogu works as a character. I'm not sure how they're going to do the helmet thing with him. And I don't even know if they'll appear in any other movies because I don't think they need to, right? And this movie wasn't really necessary in the story of The Mandalorian, but I enjoyed it. I think that it's not as bad as people think. It's not a brilliant movie, but if you enjoy those characters, and I really do enjoy those characters, it's a good run. Anyway, if you've seen The Mandalorian and Grogu, let me know what you think in the comments. All right. Oh, and if you want to support the channel, I'm trying to get to 20 subscribers by the end of June. I think we can do it. We're at 15 now. Yeah, so if you like what I do, subscribe and like the video and leave a comment. Yeah, what is your favorite Star Wars character? That was my question. All right, thanks. Bye.